for you. And those channelings are public, and you can hear them. So what I'm going to tell you now is not confidential. Because if you pass from innate to that which is happening to you corporally as a human being when you're born, you're also going to pass something else. You are in the womb of the mother, sharing the life's bloodstream for all of those months. And part of what you will have, therefore, in this increase is the increase in the mother's consciousness passed to you. Whether it's male or female, the compassion of the female mother will play a more important part because of this instinct than ever before. And you will be born with a different attitude. My partner, I'm not really sure you said that correctly. The template is going to work so you're more compassionate. Could it be clearer? And it's going to happen because instinct of that which is your mother is going to be part of you. And your mother's instinct is compassion. She's a female. And she's going to carry a different kind of consciousness for this planet. And the planet's going to change because of it. Clear? Innate is responsible. There are so many. You're going to be more in touch with Akash. This is the third innate in the series. And the fourth attribute of the day. Perhaps it's even the fifth. Depends how you count these. You're going to be more aware of the Akash. Right now, the Akashic record in your DNA is responsible for irritating you. Because it's not working well. All you remember from your Akashic record are things that are dramatic. A past life drowning. A death carries over the veil when you're born for only one reason, because it is the same level of consciousness you are. Human nature responds to death and drama, and that's what you get from the innate. Now you're about to grow up. And as this starts to grow, your Akash is going to pass the things that really made a difference. Some of the most beautiful experiences you've ever had, you'll dream about them. Oh, you're going to wake up and wish you hadn't, because they were so good. And you'll start remembering them. They will shape what you do next. You'll remember celebration and joy and good things that took place with you. All this is a change in the way the Akash responds to the template. A compassionate template for an evolved human being. I'll call this the last one. You're going to have a greater relationship with Source. How can I tell you this? Right now, as you sit in the chair listening to me, there's a relationship. And it's not really a believable one, is it? You report to a room, a man sits in a chair, his conscious leaves him, and in his body there's a beautiful entity as you feel it. I say it's a brother, sister, who comes and gives you instructions. That's your relationship. And for a few minutes you might enjoy actually the feeling that I give you when I hold out my hand to you and say, let's just join hands for a minute. You can talk to Creator, all right? That's going to change. Your relationship with that which is your higher self, directly relating to that which is the creative source, is something created by the template and the new innate. you're going to know who you are. And when you're born, and as you start to grow, there'll be no question that you're part of creation. How you treat it may be a mystery. What you do with it is your free choice, always free choice. But there come a day when you don't wonder if there's a God. You're going to wonder what part of it you are. And there are those who are so impatient because you've been there and done that and you know I'm right. And you can hardly wait. That's the new template. Oh, there's more. But for now, it's enough. This is what I want to give you. To some, it's far-fetched. For some, you'll have no proof of it while you're on earth. For some. Free choice and discernment. And how you react to this message literally will shape what you do next. How much power over your own life and your own body do you really think you have? The more you believe you can change it, the higher your DNA will cooperate with you and will do the things you tell it to. Dear ones, that's how much power you have. I am Kryon. I will not tell you things that are not so. I know it's a double negative. I will always tell you things that are so. But I want you to know there's no agenda except love. And that's a big one. For it then defines the compassion of God, which you are starting to assume. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. There used to be a time when my partner had to adjust in the first few moments of a channeling. There was a time where he had to actually change his countenance. Try to relax. Let the pineal flow without what is called the filters of human consciousness, belief. And now I just jump in whenever I want. It's the way of it. That the practice of communicating with Spirit pays off. And you get better at it. And so the human being is asked to practice. Now don't take this wrong. For in a linear fashion, that would mean, well, I'm going to have to assign times for meditation and extend them. And that's not so. What if I told you it may just be the opposite? The meditations would be shorter but more intense. Meditation is beautiful. It is a time put aside for communication with that which is inside and outside. And yet it indeed is also changing. What if it were possible that every time you'd blink your eyes, you'd be in meditation? That it would be so intrinsic to the value of your cellular structure to be in this mode that your cells would just crave it. They would crave to be in meditation 24/7, but a walking meditation, a working meditation. So that as you get up out of your chair, there's no difference really than when you sit down to meditate. That kind of a relationship with your higher self would be doable for the human being. And this is what the masters have taught. It is doable. And not only is it doable, it is something that your cells want for you. You've got this missing bridge that my partner has talked about between corporeal self and innate self. The intelligent part of your body literally craves to be in touch with the rest. To have human consciousness not only aware of it, but always working with it. There's part of your cellular structure that feels this is coming, dear ones. More than ever before, as energy shifts, the quantum parts of you are alert. They really have a feeling, if you want to say, that it is at hand. This also creates in a human being sometimes a little discomfort, because you don't know what's next. Every single time you feel change coming, the human being wonders whether it's going to be good or not. And so I'm here to tell you, oh soul, what you are feeling now, I want you to relax with. I want you to relax with it and let it in. And the expansion will be the result. The expansion of you with you, of you with your higher self. Isn't it time? Isn't it time to meet the rest of you? Think about that. You're bigger than you think, and I'm going to continue this teaching from last night about the soul. I only have a couple more things to say about it. And you may have heard it before, and my partner may have mentioned it before in his talks. But I want you to hear it from me. And so this would become part 2 of what we call soul journeying. Now, the soul isn't journeying anywhere. It's you who are journeying to meet it. You're cognizing what it is. You are journeying to meet yourself. And we have named it this way for a reason. It's not linear. You have to look at it backwards in order to understand the profundity of it. Before I begin, I would like to say, and I know where I am, it's precious here. I've told you it is a piece of Lemuria here. I've told you the Pleiadians are here. The very creative source. The beauty of a benevolent society that would be in ascension status and be your spiritual parents. That energy is here. There are only a few places on the earth. There's only really 24 of them who have been assigned the attributes of time capsules. They pair up eventually, and you'll understand the push-pull energy between them. One pushes what you don't have, and one removes the old stuff you don't need. That's how they work. By the way, that's also the attributes of the push-pull energy in the center of the galaxy you have mistakenly called a black hole. It's not a singularity. It cannot exist. We have said this before. Isn't it interesting that in physics everything comes in pairs, and then when you look at the middle of the galaxy, there's only one thing? Where is your common sense? There's got to be a pair there also. There always is in physics. There's a push-pull energy. What we call the twins are there. And there's a reason for it in physics, and they will discover it. It's just unseen at the moment. There's a node in New Zealand. It's an important one. It's because this is a piece of Lemuria, and because it is a previous home or an existing one, depending upon how you look at time, to those which helped you create the divinity inside you. We've spoken of it before, and it is Mount Cook. And so I'm just going to take a moment to say thank you for the ones who took the time to respect it and to look at it. And it says thank you back. There's a lot to know about that. And as time unfolds and it gets paired up with its counterpart, I want you to look at the energies between them and realize why they are what they are. Enough said for that. I want to continue my journey of the human soul. It's not human. We call this the human soul because we're on earth, because we are with you, and because that's what you call it. But it isn't. The soul is the creator. We've told you this before, long before. This earth was even cool. The soul existed, and it would eventually be part of you. It's eternal in both directions. And so I want to take you on this journey. Where have you been? Before the Pleiadians did what they did on this planet, where were you? Did you have anything to do with what came before this planet? Or, as some of those who would be the experts in spiritual things would tell you, that everything started when you arrived? Really? I want to give you some information. It makes it so much bigger for you. There have been many worlds before yours that have gone through what you've gone through. We've given you some of the names of those in the past that you would even recognize. The Pleiadians are the most immediately removed from you. They are your spiritual parents. They did the work. And they watch over you like parents would watch a child that has totally, completely free choice without even knowledge of their parents. There is benevolence, there is love, there's caring, especially now. There's an awakening on this planet. You're past this precession of the equinoxes. You're in an energy that I foresaw and I told you about 23 years ago. And here we sit. There's celebration in certain parts of the galaxy because of this planet Earth. Oh, don't look at your news today, okay? This is not what we're talking about. We're not talking about current events. I'm talking about world events, not world as you would think of it in the news, but world that is the Earth from its creation to now. And all the things that have taken place in the way they have, what you've done with it. You're sitting on the precipice of massive change. You have free will. You always have. You always will. But we've seen this before. And here's what I want to tell you. So have you. For some of you, this is the 12th or 13th time you've done this. Do you realize that? Your soul has been involved in other places, in other planets, in other constellations. Life is so old in this galaxy, dear ones, compared to yours. So old. Life could start as easily as a few million years when a planet is ripe and ready and begins properly and accelerates in the right way. Not that hard. You will find eventually, listen science, this is a prediction, you will find eventually that when you discover life in other places that are not related to this planet, it will have the same kind of DNA structures. These DNA structures are common to the galaxy. It is how life develops. Oh, there will be some variations, but you will see a commonality that will tell you that what you have on the planet is not unique. Hardly. When you look out at the stars and ask yourself, is there life? It's like standing on a beautiful beach on the planet and asking if anywhere else on the planet there's another beach. Just because you can't see it. The processes that would create a beach on your planet are the processes that would create your planet itself and other planets that would have life. You've been part of the process. Not the corporeal you, but the soul you, the part of the collective you. The part that you can touch right now if you want to. The most profound way through the pineal. And start a communication with your cellular structure that at first you won't even feel it. You won't even know it's there. But when you open a door and keep it open, very, very slowly the energy seeps in a very benevolent and sweet way so it doesn't surprise you or shock you or make you afraid. And you wake up one day and you realize you're not alone. You realize that there is help. You realize you're more peaceful. You realize you're more healthy. And then you start realizing it's working. That's how it works. Do you realize why that is? So we don't frighten. So that we don't startle. Humans are slow to cognize things they have never seen before or never imagined before. So there is no fear. And so we go slow. There's nothing more beautiful than an awakening human being. Finding that which is missing in their life is really there all along. Somebody needed to hear that. You have been part of the plan. You have been a soul of the Pleiadians. The Pleiadians had a planet before theirs, older, much older than theirs, in another constellation in this galaxy, and you were part of that. They're your grandparents, and their name is Arcturian. They're also the Sumerian. There are so many. There are so many ways that this happens. If you're working with these groups, dear ones, and you want to know who they are or where they came from, they're just going to smile at you. But they're here to help. The way grandparents help. The Pleiadians are different. They've got responsibilities. The others don't. They're just here to play with you, to help you. There's so much help. There is an allowance we have of these who have helped plant the seeds in this galaxy to come here to this planet, which is the only planet of free choice, and walk among you and be part of you. They're guides. They're helps. They're whatever you want to call. They're advisors. And the only rules they have is you have to see them. They cannot announce themselves to you. Many have. There have been many who actually have sensed them and feared them. There's many who think that they're visitors that perhaps are going to capture their soul or kill them just because they don't even understand. There is a wall, you call it a veil, between multidimensional things like that and who you are. And this wall, this veil, is beginning to lift. Now I want to tell you, so you understand and know this, that the veil lifts because you pull it up. Brute force of consciousness and spiritual awakening will pull the veil up. It doesn't go up by itself. It doesn't get thinner by itself. It just sits there waiting for you to pull on it. That is the arrangement. You have got to do it. Let me put it in better terms and stop the metaphors. If you're going to awaken to who's around you, who is multidimensional, it's going to be on your terms, not ours. And that's always the way it has been. You've got to search if you're going to find it. God is not going to present a situation to you that's going to give you positive proof of who you are or what's on the other side of the veil. This is, if you want to call it, a puzzle for you to figure out. It has to be that way. And every single planet that has gone through this has figured it out in this fashion. And here's what I want to tell you, and here's how it applies to today's teaching. You were there. You were there. Does this carry over into your Akash? A little. But not as much as your experience on earth. Now we're going to get there in a moment. I want to tell you there's two things that I want to remind you of. And we've given them before, but we're talking about souls in general. So I want to tell you what they are. The first is this. Even though yesterday we told you cannot put human attributes on God, and that it's a mistake to think that the creator of the universe has these human things, there's still one that you always seem to develop on your own. It's an old energy concept that's going to have to disappear before anything happens of significance to you. And that is the concept of judgment. Judgment is a human attribute, an old human attribute, an old energy human attribute that is separatist. Judgment comes from one human looking at another, or one civilization looking at another, and deciding that the other civilization is not behaving properly. Judgment is one human being looking at another and saying they're not doing it right. Judgment is everywhere. All over the planet, always has been. Judgment creates wars. And so naturally, when you build your religious structures, judgment is God. And it isn't. And it isn't. And it never was. But it's ingrained into you. Am I doing it right? How often do we hear that? Dear Spirit, I don't want to offend any angelic entity anywhere here. Dear Spirit, I don't want to do the wrong thing. Dear Spirit, this or that. What are you afraid of? Judgment? You're still doing it. And that is why I'm talking like this. You're still doing it. You're walking around feeling small. Why is that? Why do you humble yourself before God? Now I just got in trouble, didn't I? That's expected, is it not? Be humble before God. If you are a piece of God, why are you humbling yourself before yourself? Does this make sense? Spiritual common sense. If you're a piece of creation, you don't have to bow to yourself. What if, instead, we said it's time to stand up from the humbling position and take the power that's yours? In benevolence, in courtesy, in generosity, in integrity, not humbleness. What good is it going to do to grovel before God? And how is that helping the planet? Groveling before God. The reason I'm in trouble with this message is because that's what you've been given since day one. God is great, you're not, therefore you should bow a little. But if you apply the teachings of yesterday and today, and you start to realize that you are a piece of this majesty that is God itself, that it's in every single piece of trillions of DNA molecules in you, and that they all have a consciousness of wanting you to discover what that is, do you think they want to be worshipped? And the answer is no. I want you to start thinking differently about God, about the soul that you have inside. You deserve to awaken to your magnificence. How about that statement? And the magnificence does not show itself in egotism. You don't stand and beat your chest and tell everybody how good you are. No master has ever done that. You awaken to the wisdom and the maturity of mastery. What is one of the chief attributes of mastery? Silence. You knew that. Be still and know you are God. It's silence. There's an internal knowing where you can breathe the air of the planet and you can remember and you can say, you know, the air of the other planet, it was pretty much like this one. You're wise beyond words because you've been there and done that, and perhaps you don't know the details. But just sit there for a moment and be quiet. Can't you feel who you are? Is this too far removed? Is this too far removed from your intellectual pursuit? Is this too far removed from your 3D logic to think that there was more to life than what you've been told? There is no judgment. Stop humanizing God and creating attributes of situations that are human applied to God. How many times have we heard there are trapped souls someplace? They may be trapped between one place and another, and then humans will decide what those places are. They'll create levels, perhaps. The soul is trapped between 3 and 5. It's all human-made. You know this. How can the creator of the universe be trapped? There is no individual soul energies. It's all part of the whole. It is a collective that is part of you. And when you expire corporally and move on to the next level, the soul is collected from your body and becomes part of the whole again. Now, when you sense somebody who's departed, that is singular, and it's hard to describe to you. It's actual, it's real. We've even told you that pieces and parts of your loved ones who have passed over, the ones especially just recently, become part of you for your life. That's soul sharing, dear ones. It's important you understand how this works. So how can you have part of God trapped between some human created levels? And the answer is, it's impossible. Can I call it what it is? It's mythology at its best. So the next time somebody looks at whatever it is they're looking at and said, that's a result of a soul being trapped, inside yourself, I want you to know better. It's not necessary for you to speak up and say, well, now that's not exactly right. That's not what the masters do either. No, I want you to know better. And the reasoning for this is so you don't see a system that doesn't exist. I want you to see the system that exists. And that one is beautiful. There's no issues. There's no problems. There's no trappings. There's no purgatories. There's no soul that goes someplace in preparation for something else. We told him that yesterday. There's no levels of souldom. God is God. The creator of this universe is what it is. It's not segmented. It's not trapped. And it does not have a consciousness like humans do. It's beyond that. Way beyond that. It's something I can't even describe. For you, all you have to know is that it loves you beyond measure, and everything that is there for you is benevolent. You don't have to jump hurdles, dear ones. You don't have to prove yourself one way or the other. You just have to agree to learn more about what is there inside you. And the rest will be something that will be self-evident. And we say it again. When you go to your knees, if you wish to do it, if you want to honor God in any way you want to, when you pray, when you meditate, we're there. And there's only really one question, if you want to ask a question, that you should have. And the question is, dear God, tell me what I need to know. There's only one. And the reasoning is this, is that all of the other things that you could possibly ask are subservient to that one. Tell me what it is I need to know, dear Spirit, in order to solve the problem, to get from A to B. There's somebody here who needs to hear that. Here's what I'm going to, you know who you are. I want you to go to a place and ask Spirit this. Tell me what it is I need to know to get out of pain. All right? You didn't come to suffer, dear ones. It's time to get through that. Someone needed to hear that. Shouldn't have to live that way. That was not the plan. Whatever has happened, water under the bridge that brings you to that place can be undone. You have control over your own cellular structure, and it wants to hear from you. I want to bring up the final one. This one is difficult. We always save the best to last. The ones that are hard to understand, concepts that are perhaps things that you haven't really pondered much, and I'll give it to you. And this has to do with what we would call soul inheritance. When you look at inheritance as you perceive it, it's mostly in 3 dimensions, and it is what we would call chemical. And the confusing part is that you, as a human being, especially one who is aware of your spiritual complement, are dealing with an oxymoron. You are dealing with 2 kinds of inheritance that happen within one single body. Now, the chemical inheritance is that which you're taught in school, and it carries over with it a lot of what your parents had and your grandparents had. You look like them. Perhaps you will have dispositions in cellular structure. Your DNA carries through. There are things that you pass. There are talents, there are instincts that your parents would have, and you can see it. Some of you can even look at your hands and recognize your parents' hands were there. That's chemical inheritance. It's powerful. The man who sits in the chair in front of you right now has a chemical inheritance. His chemistry is Irish. And if he tracks back his lineage, he will find that it's not too many generations before he finds himself in Ireland. And he can track his name, which is very Irish, right back to a family who is there. And he's done it. Someday he may even visit. That is his chemical inheritance. Now, you don't know the story, and now is not the time to give it, but we have exposed to him his immediate past life. And it was not Irish. It was across the ditch in Australia. And that is who he is. Now, here is the issue. Who is he? Is he Irish or is he Australian? He has one path which is Akashic and one path which is chemical. And so he is a combination, a unique human being who has an entirely different past when you look at the Akashic family compared to the Irish one, which is chemical. And they are both accurate. Is that confusing enough or what? It doesn't have to be. When you look at the parable of Emily and Evelyn and all the other trees we didn't even name, Jason's one of them. I'm giving you names that mean things to those of you who are here. Who stand in the forest, who are all together because they have the same roots. Remember yesterday? So what I want to show you and tell you is that you have to start looking at yourselves differently about who you are based upon both kinds of inheritance. The chemistry you have, you track back and you think, well, my past life was then perhaps my partner, well, had to be Irish. No, it doesn't. You just have the attributes of chemistry. The real past life, the one you want to look at, is Akashic. And what is confusing about this is how there can be two paths that are so different that then create a unique human being like you. And you want to separate them, and you want to say which one is accurate, and I'll tell you, they both are. Take my partner. He assumes, and now he knows, that he is part of his parents and his grandparents and their parents, that he has the chemistry of all of them. But he also knows that the part of him that is God that he knows is involved in his Akashic remembrance, and those are the lives he lived with other chemistry from other parents and other grandparents. The result is this, dear ones. Don't overanalyze it. I want you to look at yourself. That's all I want you to look at. How has this come together to create who you are? How is this come together to create who you are? You are a unique human being. Absolutely unique. This is part of the uniqueness. Chemically, you have attributes of 3D inheritance. Spiritually, you have attributes of Akashic inheritance. They come together to create you. Where it goes from here will create another you. The corporeal complications and the puzzle are beyond anything you can imagine. I have just entangled the puzzle that some will listen to. And they'll start to realize the puzzle has always been there. It's going to unravel some things that you didn't understand. How your lives, when read by an Akashic reader, can take you on a whole different path than what you know your parents did. And now you have the answer. Don't try to figure it out. I want you only to see the beauty of how it has created you. Is that good enough? That's all you have to look at. Unique in every single way. You've got the best of everything. Perhaps you've got the strength of the chemistry that you needed and the Akashic lives that you needed to build an old soul who can make a difference on this planet today. Did you think of that? Everything that you've gone through had a purpose. But you're done going to school. And you're done surviving. Now it's time to come out of the cave. See who you are. Check out the magnificence around you. Get out of the crouching position. Stand tall. Feel the light of God around you. And claim your mastery. Simple? No. No. But you always start with small steps. And they turn into bigger ones. So now it's time to start. That's the message of the day. It'll get more complicated. I promise. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. And so the energy builds. It is not seeable. For the three-dimension reality that you live with doesn't let you see who you are. It's one of the reasons that Spirit looks upon you and wants to wash your feet. If I use the word sacrifice, it's not correct. It sounds like suffering, and you're not here for that. If I use the word courage, it's more appropriate. Then an entity that is God and part of the creative source would take themselves and rip away the very knowledge of who they are. Some would say dumbing themselves down so they had no idea that they were even part of God. to walk the planet in corporeal form on purpose, with permission. And that's who you are. And in we come yet again, asking you to remember, to remember, to remember. Old souls are awakening. And what is it you wake up to? You wake up to perhaps a feeling, an intuition that there is purpose here. And then the three-dimension part of your logic will take you to the next part of that, and you'll say, and now what is it I am to do? And before you there is a list. One that is linear. Shall I write a book? Shall I channel? Shall I travel? Shall I heal? And so many times we've said, dear human being, none of those things are what Spirit wants for you. Not really. Oh, you might do them. But Spirit wants you to remember. In the remembrance comes light. In the light comes a change in the planet because you are there. Again and again, we return to that which is the metaphor of light and dark, and how you change a darkened room with just one match. That's what you're here for. And if you spend your life thinking you are less than, or wondering why you were born, or feeling somehow it should be better, you create your own demise. For you'll go back to that place where you came, which you call death, and wake up on the other side of the veil with me, and you'll hardly wait to get back, saying, maybe I'll give it another shot, maybe I'll wake up this time, maybe I can do something for the planet. Well, we're saying, why don't you listen now? Well, there are things you can do now. And we've said it before, and we've said it before, and we've said it before. You leave this place and you walk into dark areas and you know where they are, whether they're at home, whether they're at family, whether they're at work, whether they're with friends, and all you have to do is hold the light. You become compassionate. Have you ever tried to argue with a person who's compassionate? Have you ever been angry and gone into a confrontation and you expected anger back and what you got was surrender? Where a human says to you, I'm not angry. And you are. And the human says to you instead, I surrender to you. I'm vulnerable in front of you because I feel the love of God in me. Let us not be angry again. And what do? It just dissolves you, does it not? And all that anger and energy, and it just goes away. And you just met a light worker who was able to change you because they were different. Do you see how this works? Now that's work. And that's what you came for. To change your countenance. To be more compassionate. To hold light. There are so many questions asked. The hows, the whys, the reasons. And they've been asked for all of these years, and we attempt to answer them the best way we can. And here is another channeling, yet another channeling, where we endeavor to explain the unexplainable. Unexplainable to those who stay in the box of 3D. Many times the answers are not what you want to hear. Well, Kryon, how do I do this? And we say, you just do. That's not good enough. It's not an answer that you can work with. And yet that is the answer. And so let us start to pull these things apart, to give you metaphors, ideas, explanations on some of the hardest issues we have ever brought. And we continue to do this. There's someone here who needs this today. Oh, dear ones, before we start this process of teaching, again, where do you stand here? Is this real to you, or is it the man in the chair pretending? Again, I plead with you. What if it's real? What if there are messages coming from the other side right now? What if an entourage pours into this room that you can feel and touch? What if it includes those you've loved and lost? What if it does? What if there's a dispensation right now of grace that would allow you to tune in a way you never tuned in before? What if this was all correct and true? What if there's healing right now being sent to you? And if there were, is it worth it to harden your heart and miss it? Is that what you want? What does it gain you to harden up right now and miss that which you came for? There's only a little time left in this meeting, only a short amount of time. Let the love of God and the joy of this time, the beauty presented in this room, sail into you and touch you profoundly. Let it shake hands with the Creator inside you. And you would be touched, and you would know that all is well. That you're not here to suffer. And that you were born for purpose. May you soften your approach to conspiracies and understand that it is energy wasted. There's only one conspiracy in the room, and that is the conspiracy of love. God loves you enough to bias the room. The conspiracy is of the angels who stand around your chair. The conspiracy is that which would touch your heart if you allow it. And past that, nothing else matters. And so I've been asked to become academic. How do we start the process of enlightenment? How do we start the process of speaking to cellular structure? How do you begin something that has no way to begin in a linear fashion? You are in 4 dimensions and you stay there. And nothing you're going to do at this particular moment in time is going to push you into a multi-dimensional state where you'll have an aha and see it all. It's taken my partner 22 years to knock on the door and start to understand what is truly there. But that was then, and this is now. And what is taking place is a quickening, and some of you are feeling it. It is a quickening that you have produced with the consciousness that you have. Let's talk about intent. We have discussed intent many times. It is the beginning. And what are you intending to do, and what is the process? We have mentioned it before. There is a body intelligence called innate. This represents a quantum field around you, which is the culmination and the summation, that is to say, the sum of the parts of the energy of the DNA. Now, because it's in a quantum state, it has nothing to do with how much DNA you have or where it is. It just is. It is an entangled state, one with another, creating a field that is quantum, which some have called the Merkaba. It is not in 4D. Now, pieces and parts of it are. Like gravity is multidimensional, and yet you can see it work, but you cannot see it. Like magnetism is multidimensional, and you can see the results of it, but you cannot see it. It is invisible. You can see the results of a quantum field around a human being. You can even feel it. It's your innate. It is the intelligence of cellular structure. It knows DNA. It knows you. You might often say, and it has been said, that there are two intelligences in the body. The corporeal intelligence, the innate, is quantum and separate from the 4D intelligence, which is your ordinary life and the exterior as you walk around. And so many of you strive for the bridge. And the bridge would be this: how can you get in touch with innate? What is the process? Is there support? Is there guidance? Where do you begin? This channel will not answer those, but it will give you the concepts for you to work with that might help you to achieve your goal. Intent. What do you think about when you think of intent? You intend to do something might mean a week from Thursday or in 4 years. That's not the intent we talk about. Sometimes you intend to do something and then you do it and then you unintend it. That didn't work, I'll intend to do something else, and you'll unintend that. Serial intention. That's not what we're talking about. It's a difficult concept, but I'm going to give it to you. This is a kind of pure intent that when you begin it, other forces take over and accomplish what you could not do yourself. Intent is a key. It starts a process that you are not in charge of, and that is hard for the human being to grasp. Why is it hard? When you swallow food, are you in charge of your digestion? No. You're in charge of putting the food in. The digestion is in charge of itself. That's innate. Why is this hard for you? Is it because you believe that you have to control it all the way along the way? So if you're going to make a spiritual intention, you want to know what the next step is there, and then the next step, and the next step, so you're in full control? Or is it good enough to start the process and let the love of God do the rest? That requires some surrender. Oh, mature one. Intent. Think of it this way. You're standing on the edge of the pool. You have four-dimensional intent to jump in the water. That intent then manifests itself in action. You jump as hard and as high as you can. At that moment, it's pure intent. There is no turning back. And the energies around you take you to the pool, and that's gravity. Once you leap, you don't go back. And this is the metaphor of pure intent. 22 years ago, I gave my partner a concept, and we wrote it in book 1. Released years after the concept was given to my partner, where he struggled with it and would not release it because of the word implant. 3 years, he would not release it. I gave it to him in '89. Published the book in 93. Took him 3 years after I gave it to him. Thinking about it. Dismissing it. Saying it was not correct. Wanting us to channel it again. It came back the same word every time. Implant. I remember him pleading with us in meditation, saying that is something that light workers are taking out of people, not putting in people. You can't use that word, Kryon, he said. And I said, that is the word. It is defined as the implantation of pure intent to change your cellular structure. And you can't go back. And the word was given so that people would think twice before they did it, because you don't try it any more than you try to jump in the pool. Once you've jumped, you're in the pool. I give you this information so you will understand the profundity of the beginning of the process. And there are those who say, all right, how do I begin? I just told you. You want it clearer than this? All right. Becoming more academic, more linear. You may sit and say to innate, which is your body, which is on your side and always listening, dear cellular structure, dear creator inside, I intend purely to change. And I will accept that which is a force which will take my intention into a manifestation state. And wherever that takes me, I will celebrate it, for I have given pure intent for it. And wherever that takes me, I know it'll be correct and proper. And I'll try to understand. And it may take me to places which are dark for a moment, and I'll try to understand. And if this intent changes my vibratory level, I know there'll be a space of uncomfortability, and I'll try to understand. And I will walk around expecting solutions and knowing that I am changing, and I will celebrate it every moment of the day. That is intent. And there's something that happens you should know about, and there's no name for it. We're not going to give it a law of spiritual physics name. We're not. Because then it becomes a buzzword, and then it'll go into a list. And we're not going to do it. We're just going to tell you the truth. That when you give pure intent, there's something that happens. This spiritual physics of your higher self, of the body's innate, of your DNA itself, waiting to hear these words, with your permission, implantation of permission to change, a process begins that you are not in charge of. Energies that have not yet been explained to you keep you up at night. And you start to feel it. Dear ones, there is no delete key in human consciousness. You cannot unknow something because you want to unknow it. Once the process starts and there's revelation, you cannot unknow it. Once the process begins to change you and that around you, you cannot go back. Oh, you can deny it ever happened, and then you're in unbalance, in denial. You can pretend it didn't happen. You're in imbalance, in denial. Do you see the importance of pure intent? Don't do it unless you mean it. But old souls, they mean it because they know that's why they came. That's number one. I'm going to give you 3 things. That's number 1. I have done my best to give you the linearity and the academics and the intellectualization of intent. It's up to you to go to the next level. It's not linear. It's a concept. Number 2, I would like to discuss with you more about this intelligent physics, What is the energy of the planet now compared to 20 years ago? There's something happening. There is a support system that is beginning. A support system you've never had. It's just beginning. And some of you are starting to feel it. And we mentioned it, and those things which are conceived in compassion are going to work. Those things which are conceived in unity are going to work. And they didn't necessarily work 20 years ago. Something is happening. There's a cooperative Gaia approach here. Something is happening that is actually allowing light workers to hold their light. Now I speak to those light workers who have been part of this, what you would call old soul revolution, for up to 40 years. And you've fought the good fight, haven't you? And you've had the battle, and you've known what it's like to walk into energy that affected you. You've had to be careful where you went, because there was darkness that was too strong. You had to be careful who you healed. You had to be careful about the unbalanced person that was with you, because it was a fight. And some of you were drained and had to have recovery. And that was the energy then, and I know it. And it's not that way now. Some years ago, we started to tell you that your light is stronger than any darkness. Some years ago, we started to give you the principle of the light worker, the lighthouse. All of this to tell you that there's an intelligent physics which will take whatever you do now and amplify it. Amplify it. But more than that, there is now beginning to be a system of support. It's not just about energy that's going to work for you. There's a system of support. All right. My partner is saying linearize it, intellectualize it, make it academic. These are concepts. The tree is life. It does not have the kind of a consciousness of will that you do, but it is life. It has life force. It has reproduction. It lives or it dies. The tree is in the forest, not knowing whether it will be a tree for long. It's brittle and fragile at first, but the forest supports it. For the tree finds out quickly that there's dark and light, there's sunshine. There's soft earth where the roots can go. There are insects that will actually feed it. And it somehow feeds them. There's an ecology, a system that supports the tree. The tree does not stand alone. And soon there is a forest that has grown up seemingly against all odds, because there is a system. And how did that system get there? Carefully. Through a long time of shift and change in order to fine-tune it so it was perfect. Take the same tree and put it in the desert, it dies. Same tree, same life force. It won't survive, for the system is missing. The light worker is now in a position where the system is beginning to work. And here's what it means, and my partner says, become more linear and more academic. You give intent. The process begins. Like the tree, you're planting yourself in a system of manifestation. The system begins to support you more than any time in history of humanity. And the support comes in synchronicity. You can count on it. Synchronicity is that against all odds you meet those other individuals or run into situations which know you and help you, and you have it in plenty of time. Taking away fear taking away fear. Do you know what happens when you fear? You break synchronicity completely. Did you know that? Here comes pure intent. Here comes the system, and you say is the tree, but what if it doesn't work? What if the soil isn't soft? What if the sun doesn't shine? What if? What if? And humans do this, and it interrupts the synchronicity. The system can't work when you're in denial of your power. Can't work. And so what am I teaching here? You got to trust the system. You give intent. And here comes this intelligent physics. Your body starts to react. Things start to happen with you. The quantumness of you actually cooperates in the quantumness of Gaia with other human beings, and you create the fields you can't see. And you run into people you never thought you'd meet. And together you solve each other's problems. That's just the beginning. It's a system. Beautiful it is. That's number 2. You are supported in ways you were never supported before. It's time to try things again which you've discounted could ever happen. What is it you tried and didn't work? And now you realize the timing was horrible and it should have been now. Why don't you try it again? The system is starting to be in place. That's good news. Do you realize what I'm saying? All that you have asked for regarding the shift of this planet Earth and the vibratory changes that you have wanted are starting to fall into place. Look around the earth. Look what's happening. Civilizations, cultures, casting away the old, not even knowing where they're going, but sure it'll be better than where they came from. That's new. There's a system beginning on the planet. That's new. Number 3. I've just shown my partner what it is. And he's saying to me, don't go there unless you're linear. I can't. Because the process is not linear. It's called guidance. Here's the question asked by every human being who hears the message, and it says, all right, I've given intent. I'm part of the system, and here I sit. How do I know what to do? He says, be linear. All right. Guidance is quantum. Therefore, it is not going to appear to the human being as the human being expects it. If you want guidance from Spirit, what in 3D do you expect? Signs? Voices? Writing? Something that you would recognize in your three-dimensional reality and act upon. And you want steps for it. How many steps? What should I do? How can I create the energy so that I can know where I'm going and what I'm doing? How can I tell yes or no? And that's a big one. So we begin. It is not going to be in 4D. Get used to it. It will not be in 4D. The artist is here. Or Leah. And she has said to you that she awakened one day and the painting in her mind was already on the canvas. Did she hear voices? Did she have signs? Were there emotions? And the answer is no. There is a part of the brain that you call creative and we call divine. It is the creative source in you It's the only part that you can feel every day. It makes up stories. It sings songs. It's your imagination, and you all have your stories. I know this. Especially active in the inner child. It's where the picture was for Orlia. And she saw it so clearly it was already on the canvas. All it took was for her to manifest the physical part of putting the paint there. Greatest sculptors in the world, looking at blocks of granite, seeing what has to be removed in order to create that which is remaining, which is art. Where did that come from? It is a quantum concept. It is not linear. No artist paints by the numbers. And you're not going to get guidance that way either. Guidance comes from the same place Orlia's painting came from. It's going to appear to you all at once, and it's going to be so quick that you're going to discount it. And what you have to learn is to exercise the muscle that holds it there. And this comes with patience and time. How do you hold a fleeting concept of art? Trust first intuition. Pay attention to flashes of thought which would make you turn left or right, which you would formerly discount as noise. You learn to work with it. So you cannot have a linear answer to how am I going to get guidance on what to do past what I am telling you now. Learn to pay attention to that which your creative mind gives you and you tend to discount as your imagination, because that's where it is. That's where the higher self talks to the human being. That's where you feel loved. 4 years ago, my partner crossed a barrier. Almost 5 now. Where I asked him whether he would like me to be with him all the time instead of when he sits down and channels. And the first question he asked is, what will I lose? What will I lose? Oh, how linear of him. And you know what that represents? It represents linear, three-dimensional thought. If you're going to get something good, something's got to go, right? If you get something, there's a And he found out it's a bigger tool than he thought it would be. Not only does he get Kryon, he could even paint if he wanted to. Don't try it, my partner. I don't want you there. I want you here in the chair. The creative ability is wide open for channeling and for more. Wide open. And now he has no trouble with direction, and he has no trouble with guidance. And when those ask him, how can I do it? He'll answer them and he'll say, you just do. I cannot explain it any better than I have. And maybe there'll come a time when it can be drawn or even painted. And maybe my partner will do that. But right now it is a concept and it's real. If you want to start the process, start with intent. Don't worry about what happens after that, but make it pure. You mean it, you can't go back. Next, understand that the energy of this planet is in support of you. Expect solutions. Do you know what's going to happen when you're in that state? You become a creator. Manifestation starts to visit you. But the rules are the same. You cannot sit and wait for it to land upon you. You must step out, push on the doors, and see what works. And we say it again. Here are your instructions for pushing on the door. If you get resistance, walk the other way. Don't push it. Don't force it. That is a sign. All of these things working together will steer you into the appropriate place you want to be in. That's the earth supporting you. Watch what you think and what you say, because you are in creative mode. If you say, I'm always tired, the universe will be happy to make you always tired. If you say, I knew that would happen, it always does, the universe will cooperate and it will always happen. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can create whatever you want. Now you have to start thinking differently. The man cuts you off on the freeway. Think differently. Bless him. I'm sorry he's having a bad day. Can you do that? And if you don't, you're going to manifest very clearly what you don't want. Fear begets fear, anger begets anger. You can generate them, manifest them, put them upon yourself. You're a grand creator, especially in creation mode, because the earth is going to support what you want. Finally, guidance is going to come from the creative center of your mind, that part that paints pictures, sings songs, does poetry. That is the message, dear ones, this day. Now, what are you going to do with it? You're going to say this, I know. Well, it all sounds good. I think I'll try it. A week from Thursday. I'm busy. Why don't you do it now when the entourage is here? Why don't you do it now so I can watch it? Is that perhaps why you came? Make it simple. I intend to start this process and I'm going to do my best. And some are saying, I've got to listen to this channeling again. I've got to be sure. And then if you are one saying that you didn't get it, what I'm telling you is you start the ball rolling and it rolls by itself. Do you understand this? It rolls by itself. That's the love of God. So you can start the ball rolling tonight on the healing you came for, and not wait until you're alone someplace where you think it's safe to be weird. That's why I'm here. For I am Kryon in love with humanity, but I am aware of the quickening. And you've never heard me say it before. Do it now. Don't wait. For now is a good time to plant the seeds of peace on this world. And so many generations from now, you may actually meet your Pleiadian brothers and sisters. When they come down and they look just like you. And they say, job well done. And that is where it's going. Light worker. And so it is.